Kia ora koutou katoa. It's been quite some time since I've done a Braidwood Farm video journal. I think it's been since winter, and I felt given we're in the height of summer, it'd be really good to document the farm and the garden at this time. Now, yes, we are, believe it or not, in the height of summer. It's the middle of January in New Zealand, which means it should be blistering hot temperatures right now, but we are having highs of like 15 degrees Celsius, and as you can see, the weather is raining and miserable. The seasons are weird now. Like, you expect spring to be really up and down and chaotic and crazy, but this year's summer's been characterized by kind of kicking off really hot with a hiss and a roar in early December, getting up to like 30 degrees plus, which is double the highs we're having at the moment. And then settling in for Christmas, we had another real low period, and just after New Year's we got the high hot summer temperatures again, and now we're back to this, and it's forecast to barely get past 20 for like the next 10 days. So I don't know, I guess this is maybe just part of adapting to more changeable weather. The spring frosts this year ended the earliest they've ever ended since I've been here, compared to last year where we had the latest frosts I'd ever had since we've been here. So in some ways it meant I could get my summer vegetables out without that risk of them being damaged by frost. But again, you can never actually predict when the last frost is going to come, so it still plays to the plan on the safe side. And also, you got to wait till the soil temperatures are a good temperature to be able to get the plants to have some decent growth too. The summer vegetables are now all in the garden and starting to produce, which is really, really good. And I won't go through all of them, otherwise we'll be here all day, because there's quite a bit that's happened on the wee farm since my last video. So apologies if this is a bit of a long one. This year's been a real bumper for some things that have grown and then terrible for other things. So for example, it's been the best year of raspberries we've ever had here. This is a crop that just has taken over and grown wild in the food forest. The raspberries were in full flush before Christmas, and honestly it was just so amazing being able to go out there every day or every evening and just eat delicious raspberries. And it's something I really have loved doing with my kids as well. The fact that they can, actually pick a raspberry and eat it straight off the bush and know where it comes from. And I know that those raspberries are really good for them. There's no pesticides used. They're all organic, so to speak. And it's just awesome to have that shared gathering experience with my kids, because they love it so much, and their joy can bring out my joy a lot more as well. We honestly couldn't keep on top of them. There were so many, but we'd go out and try and eat as many as we could, and then the next night just as many were ripe again. But it's a wonderful issue to have, and I already miss them because now the harvests are well and truly over. The really key thing I've done this year is net my raspberries, because the birds really love to get into them, and despite netting they still seem to find some holes to get in and eat them, so I'm constantly removing them and then chasing them out and all the rest. And again, like I've said before, I've got a mixed relationship with birds. I've learned you've got to net your crops, otherwise they'll eat them, but they kind of do help with pest control as well. So yeah, it's just one of those things that I've really got to manage. Then on the other hand, strawberries have been terrible. I do not know what has gone wrong with strawberries this year, and the irony is it's probably the year I've put the most love and care into them, with weeding around them, topping up with compost or homemade fertilizers, and the strawberries have just not produced. Initially I tried to blame something other than myself and think, oh, it must be the variety, but then I remembered last year a guild underneath a pear tree was producing heaps of strawberries. I've heard from other growers that it hasn't been a good year for strawberries. My mum lives in North Canterbury and talked to a guy who sells strawberries around Christmas, and he said he was really struggling to get decent harvests this year too. And look, there are off seasons for things, so maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know, or maybe I should just put less care and effort into strawberries and just see how they go. Zucchini have also been really slow to start this year. And again, it just might be the season, to be honest. Normally, we would be having an abundance of zucchini by now. The cucumbers I've planted had a really interesting success rate. About, honestly, a half of my crop failed, and then the other half has done superbly well. And it's really weird because in the cucumber garden bed, it's like one end, the cucumbers have thrived, and then at the other end of the bed they haven't. And I don't know why, because I amended the soil with, compost and charcoal and all the rest before putting them in. But yeah, just one half has done terribly. And it's a little bit of a shame because honestly, my boy can eat cucumbers. He will demolish 5 a day if he was allowed to, if we had the surplus. So it is a crop I really wanted to have an abundance of. And saying that though, the gherkin cucumbers have done really well, and I'm growing them around the corn, and some of them are naturally growing up the corn as a trellis and otherwise just crawling along the ground. And it's been really cool to start to make homemade pickles as well, which my son eats the second they're ready too. But look, it's again a nice complaint to have. I want him to be eating good quality kai. There's one variety of cucumber that I've tried to save seeds from, but kind of made the silly assumption that I'd be able to buy the variety of seeds in again. It's a Japanese variety called Soyo. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but it's this really long, sort of thin cucumber, and the taste is just like, it's like nothing else, eh? It puts other cucumbers to shame, and it's just beautifully crunchy as well. It's a variety where you can eat the skin fine, it's not tough at all or anything. And I'm only having one plant that's growing well with this variety at the moment. So I'm hoping to save the seeds of this next year, but it will lack that natural diversity if it's only coming from one plant. I've managed to find another couple of seeds and get them going, so we'll see what happens. But it just really shows the importance of saving your own seeds and having that seed bank, because you can't rely on the same varieties to come through every year. So it's a real shame because I love that cucumber. Other things in the garden are ticking away nicely as well. I'm growing a variety of things. We're getting an okay supply of capsicums coming through at the moment. The chilies are growing nicely like they normally do, but honestly probably won't get red chilies until late autumn. I don't know why, that's just what tends to happen here. I've tried a few new tomato varieties as well, and a new beefsteak variety called Croatian that I got from Kawanga Seeds. And that's kind of cool because my wife has Croatian ancestry, and her ancestors were the Croatian gum diggers, and apparently this seed came over with the Croatian gum diggers, so that's really cool. So my kids, of course, have the Croatian heritage as well. I'm having a competition with my mother-in-law, who has the Croatian blood in her, to see who can grow the biggest Croatian tomato, and I'm sad to say she might be winning at the moment, but the competition's not over yet. Potatoes are going really well. Again, I've purchased some other varieties outside of my standard. There's a Scots potato that Scottish immigrants brought over, and then there's another variety called Taranaki, and I've harvested a few of these potatoes, and just homegrown potatoes are just something else, eh? There's just such a deliciousness in them, and interestingly enough, there's a real difference in flavour between the Taranaki potato and the Scots potato. So it's really cool, and I hope to save seed potatoes like I normally do and carry on this line for future years as well. I've now also pulled the garlic, and we've had a pretty steady, decent harvest of that. Like every year it gets a wee bit of rust, but I probably find that just planting a little bit earlier, like April, May, tends to mean they have a better start by the time I generally harvest them around the longest day. It's really important to harvest them when you get a good spate of dry weather, so thank goodness I did it, earlier when we did have the dry spell, and then I'm just allowing them to cure in the shed at the moment. But all in all, it's just so wonderful to be eating so much kai from this whenua at the moment. There's just a real deep sense of nourishment that I get from it, and it's so cool to look at a plate and be like, either all of this or majority of this has come from this land and through either animals or vegetables that we've grown. It's a really rewarding, cool feeling, and I don't know, it ticks my boxes, it gets my passions flowing. I just really love having that connection with my food, and importantly being able to share that food with my family as well. I like to keep my garden as wild and diverse as possible, and this means I allow a lot of things to self-seed year after year and just see what naturally pops up. And the more I observe, the more it tells me about what the soil's doing and what's happening. So for instance, with the zucchini line, chamomile just naturally grows year after year, and that's growing in between the zucchini at the moment, which the hope is it'll serve some sort of pest repellent properties or attract pollinators with all of its flowers. But I also do add my own flowers as well, like plant zinnias between crops or marigolds, and again the hope of attracting pollinators. And the longer I garden, the less I tend to try and fight things like pests and weeds. When I see, aphids on an old broccoli plant now, I celebrate, believe it or not, because I know that is going to attract the predators for those aphids. And without the lower chain in the ecosystem, the higher order stuff can't come in, and I feel that's when I get problems, is when I start to fight things. So if I just sort of sit back and relax and go, okay, there's a bit of a pest problem here, the answer is typically diversity, or to leave it alone, or to amend your soil. And sure enough, I've got lots of beneficial little predatory insects crawling around in the garden that will naturally control those pests. You just need to accept, I think, that you're gonna have the odd plant that dies to pest or disease, but that's the natural order of things. And then you save the seeds from the strong plants. I also tend to fight weeds a lot less now as well. Weeds are awesome. They are just like wonderful things. Yeah, sure, I think they'll compete with, my plants that I am trying to grow, but they're incredible because you can eat a lot of weeds. They are like nature's superfoods. When there is disturbed soil, they're the first things that come in and take advantage of that to then form like the base of soil structure for other things to grow as well. And the way I view it too, weeds is like free mulch. I can just cut every weed around my plants. Yeah, sure, I have to do weeding. Like, we do have to have some intervention in our gardens. All that green matter can just die on top of the soil and then nourish the plants that I want to feed, whilst also protecting the soil in like the summer where you're having the intense heat on it. And it also means that all the roots underground are decomposing, allowing little tunnels and living areas for other organisms too. So yeah, I tend to just not stress about weeds so much now and view them as a resource rather than a problem. Weeds also are an indicator, I'm not an expert at this, about like what your soil might be missing and then what they're trying to accumulate. So yeah, there's a lot we can learn from the magical wonders of weeds. The older the food forest gets, the more mature all the fruit trees are becoming, and it means the harvests are slowly increasing year by year. We've even managed to get a few nectarines this year, and we of course have to net any fruit because the birds do get to it. So we didn't have a apricot harvest like we did last year, but we had a few apricots on one of the trees, and I forgot to net them before we went away for Christmas, and sure enough the birds got straight into it. But we're getting other things too, like the apple trees looking like they're really producing now. The berries are going really well, and yeah, it's exciting that there's more and more fruit that's going to be available. And of course, like every year, the peaches are growing really well. We should get a bumper crop of them too. I'm always striking that balance with how much I interfere with the food forest. And an example of this is like all the long summer grass stalks that come up. And one way, if I chop them down and let them decompose on the forest floor, that's a really good source of biomass and carbon. But on the other hand, the grass stalks also provide a really good environment for other creatures and insects, adding to the diversity. And also some plants grow perfectly well between the grass stalks as well. So I don't know, I'm figuring it out as I go really, but it's important to observe, I think, and sometimes the best intervention is no intervention, despite how messy it might look. But the more and more I connect to nature and the land, I see things so differently now. So something that might look like a mess of weeds to someone, I can see multiple beneficial plants and kind of guess maybe what functions and interactions they're having with one another. And it's a really beautiful way to look at the natural world, how it does its own things without too much human intervention. There have been a lot of changes amongst the animals on the farm since my last video. One of the first things I'll mention is our original alpha rooster, Richard, has sadly died. He was one of the first chooks we got here as part of the Orpingtons on Braidwood Farm, and his genetics have been passed on to many of the girls, and his line and legacy will continue. What happened is we were away one night, and I returned to see Richard kind of hiding and cowering somewhere, and this was unusual, being the top rooster. And I noticed that he had a whole lot of blood down one side of his face, and originally I thought, oh no, he might have been attacked by a hawk or something. But then I also wondered if our other rooster, black rooster Roger, might have been fighting with him for the top spot. Anyway, I waited till the evening where it would be dark and he'd be more docile, and we went in to clean him up. And with closer inspection, we saw that the wounds were actually quite severe and quite bad. And you kind of know in your gut straight away that this isn't looking good. And sadly, I've learnt the lesson in the past of, ignoring my gut feeling that it is an animal's time, and you try and save them, but you end up actually causing more suffering. And so we made the call to put him out of his misery so he didn't have to suffer any longer, and I think it was the right call. That's the way it goes. I mean, it sounds a bit cold, but in some ways it probably is time for a new rooster with fresh genetics to dominate the flock. But he'll be sorely missed. He was a really sweet boy and gentle, and he looked after his girls, and he will always be remembered as he was part of the original Orpington team on Braidwood Farm, and his legacy now continues. The rooster that potentially took the top spot, Roger, he started off as a really sweet boy and was really friendly. At the end, I think, just as maybe the testosterone and the need for dominance grew, he started to become a lot more aggressive. and to the point he was even aggressive with me. If I had my back turned to him, he would pick me and attack me. And so we made the call, especially having young kids as well, that he wasn't going to be suitable as a rooster here. So he was slaughtered and butchered for meat in the end, which is the right call to make. We use our roosters for meat here anyway. And he was Richard's son, so he wasn't really a rooster I wanted to hang around for long. So the rooster that is going to have the top job soon is a young guy named George, and he's a beautiful black boy and extremely sweet and gentle and friendly, and he's come from another a breeder in Pahiatua, so it'll be really good to have those fresh genetics amongst the chooks. The girls are doing their best to lay and go clucky and have chicks. The original two that tried to set eggs only managed to have one hatch and survive, and that never goes well. The survival rate's really low when there's a chick by themselves, and so both those chicks ended up dying. One I just found dead in the cage with Geralt. I don't know what happened to it. And the other one I think got plucked off by a hawk. Yeah, I could have been more careful, but I don't know, it's just not realistic to keep them cooped up when they don't have other siblings for warmth and things, and the mother's really desperate to get out. But at the moment, one of our young hens, Onyx, has 4 little babies that she's raising really well, and our other girl, Geralt's given it a second go again this year, and she's got 5 little bubbers with her that are ticking away nicely. And I am going to be really tough and keep them caged for as long as possible to avoid hawks getting them. This year was really unusual with lambing, and on face value it was a really good lambing year. We had no lambs die, which has never happened before, and a lot of the girls had, if not twins, triplets. We only had one single this year, and to be honest, triplets aren't a good thing because they do place a lot of stress and pressure on the mums, and the mums that have had triplets are in the poorest condition out of any of the ewes here. So thankfully I've managed to sell a few of the lambs and prioritise the mums with triplets just to try and take that pressure off. And now the advantages with all this summer rain is that there's a lot of green grass growth coming through, and I'm hoping they can really put on the weight and yeah, just recover from what they've done. So the mums that had triplets were a lot of the old girls, like it was Armand, Clef and Molly, and those will be the last lambs those girls ever have, because they're just getting to an age now where I don't want to put any more pressure on them. So from here, the plan is for these girls to just live out their retirement until they die here on Braidwood Farm. They've earned it. They've, worked for me and provided me with many lambs, and now it's their time to have a rest. But especially raising the 2 cattle this year, the feed pressure's been really high, having all the lambs and triplets too. I was kind of assuming I might get a few twins and singles, and as bad as it sounds, assumed a few might die as well. So feed has been tight, but I think I've managed it really well overall through break fencing and making the baleage a few years ago. And I've only had to buy three bales in just to ensure that the feed's topped up enough. So max carrying capacity that we had on this property was a total of 31 sheep and 2 cattle beasts, which is really high numbers, I feel, for 2.7 hectares. I don't want to do that again, don't get me wrong, but it's just quite interesting to know sort of what this property can handle if it's managed right. A few of the lambs as well have grown wee horns, and that must have come from the neighbour's ram that we borrowed. It's probably also his genetics that caused all the triplets too. And horns aren't something I really want in my flock, so those ones will be used for meat. Molly's wee runt has two little horns coming out of the head, and it looks quite cute, really. But you know, sadly, again, I won't breed from her because she is a runt and she's got horns as well. And then a really massive thing that's happened in the last week is we've had both of our cattle slaughtered. Black and Brown are no longer with us. It happened in the early hours of Thursday morning. A guy came round and I, created two separate areas for them, one in the yards, one another fenced off area, so they could be killed separately without being aware of what was happening to the other one. But when the guy came around, he said, actually just get them into the paddock, and I'd prefer to shoot them there. And initially I was a bit worried about this because I didn't want one animal witnessing the other die. But he assured me that there won't be enough time for them to even know what was going on. And sure enough, in the paddock, they both just sort of calmly looked at us. He crouched down, he shot Brown. Brown collapsed. Black kind of looked over, not stressed out, otherwise to go, what the heck's happening? And honestly, in under 5 seconds, he'd then shot Black as well. And so it was over and done with in a jiffy and really humanely. And I feel really happy because this year I've managed to get around the whole, work system, which, I don't know, I felt horrible with the last two cattle where number 10 had to go on a stock truck by himself, 4 hours away, to go into the freezing works with the smell of blood and death. Whereas these two, I could both give a really wonderful, honourable death. And yeah, I feel really good about it. It's never easy to raise and kill animals, but it's so hard to explain. It's just a wonderful thing at the same time. So already we've got the offal, which is wonderful in itself, and we've had kidney and beef cheeks and the heart, which has just been delicious from those boys. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for their lives and just their meat. Yeah, that's really cool. So we should be expecting the rest of them butchered in the next week, and yeah, get all the meat for the freezer. And you might be thinking, how the heck are you going to have meat for 2 entire cattle feasts? Well, all I'll say is we've just managed to donate enough to family and friends and provide meat for them as well. I really love raising animals. It's a really rewarding, nice experience. There's a ritual and a routine that I love. Whether it's moving the cattle and the sheep from one paddock to the other, or feeding the chooks in the morning. I'd have contact with them every single day, and with that regular contact you really get to know their individual personalities and who they are. And yeah, you do develop this relationship with them, and it's really nice to know that when you get to the end, when you're eating them, you know exactly how that animal's lived its life. And I like to think I'm taking as best care of these animals as I can and trying to treat them with respect and dignity, because I feel that every animal has the right to that. And then you get to just eat this delicious, mouth-watering food source that is like nothing you can buy from a shitty old supermarket. It's, yeah, the animal has died in a really calm state and raised in a really wonderful way, and you can taste that difference in the meat. So now that we've got rid of some of the lambs, I'm still hoping to sell a few, and also the cattle are no longer here. Thank you, Black and Brown. It's time heading into autumn where I give the land a really good rest, and I'm intending to have low stock numbers over the next year or so, because we're going to have plenty of meat. And even through our lambs, there's plenty of wether or ram lambs, and even a couple of the ewe lambs that we'll be able to eat that will take us through a few years, I'd say. So I'll probably get the odd ewe pregnant, some of the ones that weren't pregnant this year, but really my focus is just going to be to, let the land recover and recharge now. So that really is the essence of what's going on at Braidwood Farm at the moment. I have felt, a bit stressed out at times with stock numbers, but it's all worked out in the end. It's really great to have the garden producing fresh summer vegetables for us as well. Collecting berries and starting to get fruit off the fruit trees too. Yeah, I love this way of life, and I don't think I could live any other way now. And it's even more wonderful that I can share these experiences with my kids now too.
Got this big beetroot.
So if you have watched this lengthy video, thank you very much. I hope you're all having a wonderful summer wherever you are, and that we get a bit of heat at least soon to do the things that you meant to do in summer. But thank you again, ka kite anō.